Jake Ludington here at HPE Discover, and I'm here with Bob Moore. And security is, of course, something that's always on people's minds. What is it that you guys are doing to help address customer concerns?
Well, first of all, we've listened to our customers, and we know it is a big concern. Security is critically important, and you'd have to be under a rock somewhere not to realize how many cyber attacks are happening these days. In fact, there are about 720 million in attempts every 24 hours, so it's really huge. And several years ago, we anticipated this increase in cyber crime attempt, and so we designed into our new Gen10 servers a couple of new, very unique, differentiated technologies that will really provide the ultimate protection for our customers.
All right, so what are those new technologies?
Right, okay, so let me rattle them off a little bit. Well, first of all, we got this new differentiated, first to the market, actual silicon root of trust. And this is where we are actually anchoring our server essential firmware, the UEFI, the ILO, the IE, the ME, the CPLD, all that is being anchored into the silicon. And we're in a unique position at HPE to be able to do that because we happen to design and develop our own custom ILO silicon chipset. And so that allows us to do things and integrate and do this collaboratively between the firmware itself and then the silicon, the chipset that resides in. So we're anchoring that down into the silicon that provides this unbreakable chain. So that's the first thing that we're doing.
So what does that do for somebody that might not know exactly what that means? What does that do in more layman's terms?
Right. So if you attack a server, or if you're trying to get in and hack your way into a system, you would be able to do that on most systems, competitor systems, if they don't have a firm foundation. So you think of this as we're anchoring all of this server essential firmware down into concrete, right? So it can't be, because if anybody gets a malicious code or a virus into this server, it will change some of the bits and the bytes in the firmware naturally because you've just inserted a virus, right? And therefore it won't match what we've embedded in the silicon, and it'll say, bingo, hey, we got a virus here, we got a problem. And so and that's the second thing we do. We not only provide this protection, but then we will alert and detect it and then notify the customer that there's an issue with that particular server. It is pretty awesome, cool. And we don't even leave it there. It's I've seen those commercials about security monitor. Hey, I'm just monitoring the security here. I don't do anything about it. We actually do something about it. Once we've determined, we provide this protection, and we're monitoring the firmware on a regular basis. And once we've determined that there's been some type of a breach, if it's been detected, then we alert the customer, and we go the final step, and we actually can recover that server. So we can recover all of that server essential firmware to get that server back and operational, which is really quite remarkable because what we've done is authenticated and stored in an off-site location inside the server in a lockbox, if you will, a secure copy of this firmware that's authenticated as good and valid and free of any type of malware, and we recover to that. So we go pull that out of the server and recover and get the server back and operational with that. So this ability to provide this protection, but then also detection, and then finally recover it is remarkable in the first three of a handful of things, half a dozen things we're doing.
And so how is this different than what, say, your competition is doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. We welcome our competition. We've seen some announcements here fairly recently on what they're doing, and we think it's great when other server manufacturers address the security issues because they certainly need to be addressed, and we welcome them to this, to participating in server protection. And those solutions that they have do provide they just fall short of what HPE is offering. So if you are using somewhat of an incomplete solution, unfortunately it might provide a false sense of security for customers if they don't have the full comprehensive solution that HPE is offering. I think that's a key differentiator because they may be protecting the BIOS only, for example, where we're protecting all of that, the UEFI, the ILO, the IE, the ME, the CP, all that server critical firmware. So we're much more holistic. And we also have a very lifecycle focus with our protection too. So I think those are key differentiators.
Very cool. And of course, you can't really talk about security without talking about regulation. So yes. How do you solve regulatory issues related to security? We
are watching that closely because we certainly have a lot of regulations coming forth. The GDPR over in the EU takes place mid-May of 2018. And we've got HIPAA, we've got ISO 27001, 27002 certifications, we've got NERC, we've got all sorts of different FedRAMP, different certifications. And although, to be clear, we're not, if they wanted to get a full certification, they would come to our HPE Point Next services and they could get them. In fact, they offer an ISO 27002 certification there. But if they really wanted to get started or accelerated that direction, we can do that because we're applying some of the NIST security controls to our solution, and then that provides a secure baseline. They can use that, leverage that to get a little further down the road towards some of these certifications. So we're doing everything we can at our own expense and time, energy, money, and effort to help customers comply with those regulations.
And knowing how to comply is one of the more complex things that people have to deal with.
Security is complicated, regulatory compliance is complex as well, and all countries sometimes have a little different requirement there, and so we're trying to do the best we can to provide a baseline, and we've got it. We've done that with our Gen 10 server, so we're very excited, and we're branding HPE Secure Compute Lifecycle, and it's really our philosophy of providing this cradle-to-grave protection. So all the way from the very conception of the product, even before it goes into production, before the ProLiant server goes into production, we anchor the silicon to the firmware, and then it goes over into the factory and it gets put into the motherboard, and then from there it makes its way through a supply chain and finally to the customer's location, and then it's in operation for a number of years, and then finally it gets retired, and our HPE Point Next Services comes out and they'll retire that, and they'll use the NIST qualified or NIST appropriate erase technologies like crypto erase to make sure that data is firmly erased and it can't be resurrected. So it's really a complete end-to-end solution that we've come up with, so we're really proud about that, and we think our customers will really appreciate it.
That definitely is comprehensive. Thanks,
Yep.
Bob.
You bet, thank you.